It's the Eagle Community Television Forum with your host, Gary Shorman.
Hi, I'm Dennis Weiss. Welcome to the Forum, sponsored by Hayes Med here on Eagle Local TV. We have Michael Hook from the Dickinson County Heritage Center, and we're in the Alamo Saloon in Abilene, Kansas. How good is that?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
You're very welcome. You know, so happy to be able to shoot a show for the Forum here in Abilene. This is played in our central cluster, centered in Hayes, and spreads out to Russell and Waukene and the surrounding area. We're trying to give you a chance to tell the story of the CT-150 as you go out into the world. So tell us about Michael Hook, tell us about the Heritage Center, and tell the folks who don't know about the CT-150.
Yeah, so we're not too far from you. Over on I-70 is Abilene, Kansas. Great history. Starting 150 years ago would have been 1867 is when Joseph McCoy decided to bring Abilene to the world. And it would have all been based on the Longhorn coming up the Chisholm Trail. It made us such an important spot. We appreciate 1867 for being such a great anniversary year. We have Fort Hayes with the 150th. We had Nebraska, it's their state anniversary. So there's a lot of things to compete with. But we're pretty proud of the Chisholm Trail being here in Abilene, Kansas. We were the end of the road because we had the closest railroad tracks. And so we basically are building this celebration around the drovers, around Texas, around all the efforts to save the economy of the South. And so there's so many dynamics, so many different aspects, and bringing Joseph McCoy back to credibility again, the real McCoy. We want to give him all the love that he deserves there. So
now our viewers in the Abilene area are well acquainted with you as a person. They see you on TV a lot. They see you on the street every day working on behalf of history. So, but give folks an insight, and I'm going to give you the lead line. You're not an Abilene native. You're the most knowledgeable person about the history of Abilene that I've ever ran into face to face.
Well, I appreciate that. I grew up in Kansas City and went around the circuit pretty much with Walmart. It's kind of like being a military family. When Walmart gets a hold of you, you're going to go all over the country there.
Okay.
So eventually I made it out to Abilene just by a chance sort of situation, but absolutely fell in love with it, with the history. And I was one of those guys that thought the John Wayne movies were in Texas. You know, you had no idea. And then you find out that here's Texas Street sitting down right on the south side of the train tracks, and here's the steel rail line that's still sitting where it once was. And then you start walking in the footsteps of Wild Bill Hickok and Jesse James and John Wesley Hardin. All these great guys were right here. Some of the most hardened criminals, some of the greatest heroes. The comic book was basically right here in Abilene. So who couldn't fall in love with that immediately?
Okay, so what are we doing here in Abilene to promote that legacy and that vision, and how does that fit on a calendar between now and September?
That's right. So the celebration, everybody along the Chisholm Trail is just making it a big deal this year, especially if you can't celebrate the 150th, what can you do there? So we appreciate all the great events that have kind of been escalated, and Caldwell, Wellington, some towns up and down the line, they've been doing it every year. We started last year with just kind of a dress rehearsal, and it turned out to be quite an event itself. But this year we hope to make it a bigger and better. We call it Trails, Rails, and Tales. So we're celebrating the multitude of trails that came through, whether it was called the Chisholm Trail in 1867 is a story in of itself, but the McCoy Trail and the Abilene Trail, there's trails that all lead to the railroad. And then the rails, obviously you couldn't have it without shipping them to the eastern points, Chicago, New York, the people that were hungry for the Texas Longhorn and the beef. And then the tales is the story tales, what we are telling after all this exciting stuff was happening. Being the Cowtown capital of the world, we have a lot of interesting people here all at once, right there in that 5-year period.
You know, every town in Abilene that's still a town that I've driven through, somewhere in the downtown has a sign that says, "Welcome to historic my town, our town name insert here." There's a reason for that. It's because Kansas communities largely have been here since patent, since it was a state, and so everything started at the same time. Everything didn't finish at the same place, though.
Yeah.
We have one of those pesky flies from the Longhorns chasing me around here today. But it's what's been done with it in between. So this program is aimed at Hayes and that cluster. You know, you look at the community of Hayes in a general area. That's one of the communities, the same age we are.
Yeah.
and has grown to be an anchor economic, social, sponsored by Hayes Med, healthcare center of the entire western Kansas, eastern Colorado area. And as we look at CT 150, that's a chance to talk about many things about Abilene.
Yeah, there's so many great facets of Abilene's history. We were so many different things, and that's what's exciting is, first and foremost, we were a town of log cabins, just a very crude town there. So I could see why Joseph McCoy, the first time he stopped by, decided it probably wouldn't be the place for him. So it took a couple of times and a little bit of luggage mishap that basically brought him back to Abilene. We're so thankful that he came in. So
okay. We're going to take a short break, sponsored by our sponsor, and we will be right back.
Hayes Med is your first and best choice for healthcare. They're the only facility providing tertiary level services in this region. With more than 70 physicians and 26 specialties ranging from heart, orthopedic, spine care, cancer, obstetrics and gynecology, wound care, rehabilitation and surgery, including the Da Vinci robotic surgery, Hayes Med is your comprehensive health provider for people throughout western Kansas. Hayes Med, helping people be healthy.
Are you frustrated with Wi-Fi dead zones in your home? It happens when you don't have Pulse, the cutting-edge Wi-Fi solution from Eagle Communications. A Pulse-certified Eagle technician maps your home, then installs a dual-band modem and router, plus discrete access points to deliver wall-to-wall Wi-Fi with no dead zones. Pulse powers all your family's devices in all the places you love to live. Get Pulse. Wi-Fi made simple. Only from Eagle Communications. Call today.
Dennis Weiss back with the Forum Show. Welcome back. We're brought to you by Hayes Med, and we're talking with Michael Hook here in the Alamo Saloon in Abilene, Kansas, talking about the Chisholm Trail celebration that's on Labor Day weekend. Mm-hmm. You and I know that. Okay, now you get to tell all the people in western Kansas why September is important to the Chisholm Trail.
That's right. Well, we are in Old Abilene Town, which is a great reproduction in the 1950s. They wanted to bring back the stories and bring it to Technicolor, basically. So we're so excited that this was built, and the town founders really found it necessary to tell that cowboy story. But in this area here, you get an opportunity to see what the Alamo Saloon, the original saloon, would have looked like, the Merchants Hotel across the street, a whole line of just businesses running up and down the street here, just the way it would have been. So we are excited to have that backdrop for this great event. And the event will start on September 1st on a Friday night, 6 o'clock. We're going to have two stages, and we're going to call it Showdown at the Alamo. So on this side, on the north side, there will be a stage with Highway 99, which is a great group out of Manhattan. And on the other side of the stage will be Lucas Matty, who is also out of Manhattan. So Red Dirt Band's more modern music there for that Friday night. And then as we cross over to Saturday morning, September 2nd, it all becomes 1867 at that point. So you'll see the Longhorn Drive in the parade. It's truly a great experience to see that.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and to have the Buffalo Soldiers involved and the Native Americans, and we're trying to capture every facet of that story. It wasn't just white guys traveling up and down the trail. There were different, basically a lot of Mexican vaqueros that came up the trail as well. So every culture, every creed you can imagine was on that trail. And so we're excited about bringing that to life as well through storytellers and poets and authors and musicians. And so that's what we hope to bring as an educational experience, but still come back with some great memories as well.
You know, to give people who weren't here last year a sense of scope, about 5,000 people was the number that I saw published afterwards. We're here in this area in Old Abilene Town. And I have to say, I didn't see anybody that wasn't having a great time.
Yeah, and it was certainly the best 149th anniversary anybody could have.
There you go.
And so the 150th, we had to do it bigger and better, and so certainly the headliners are going to help us with that coming up. Saturday night, Red Steagall out of Texas, the Cowboy Hall of Famer. He discovered Reba McEntire, such a great name and a great storyteller as well. So we'll have him, as long as the Kansas Western Music Association. They'll also be here, and we are excited to introduce kind of like a Grand Ole Opry style, 19 people on stage at the same time.
Very
there.
cool.
So. And then going into Sunday, another big day as well, we'll have the Sons of the Pioneers, who are actually going to open for Michael Martin Murphey. And so these two guys are headliners of their own. The Sons of the Pioneers, just such a great historic name there as well as the trail goes. So
I think it's interesting part of the story, the Michael Martin Murphey piece of that. He is quite evidently from the outside looking in, making a real push in behalf of cowboy history. And cowboy history is Kansas.
That's right. Yeah, he has definitely changed his own act there in a little ways, and obviously he was started off as a popular artist, hitting the pop charts, and really started digging into the history and telling it. And he is full cowboy through and through now. So we appreciate him being a part of this thing.
So all three of those headliners are headliners.
Yeah.
And they're converging here on Labor Day weekend in September. September is important to the factual side of the Chisholm Trail to tell the story.
Yeah, so it was September 5th, 1867, which was ways into the Longhorn season. So you're basically coming on the back end of it. But this is when Joseph McCoy plotted out Abilene. He got here in June, and he said, you know, we need to build up a stockyards first. We need to build a first-rate hotel, which may have been in the end, but it was a nice hotel there for the ranchers. And then we need to kind of build the town around that. And so as we bring up the Longhorn, there's a place for them to graze for a short time. Right down by the Great Plains Theater, you'll see where the original stockyards were. There's a little plaque signifying the end of the Chisholm Trail, which is a neat spot. And then you have 4,000 head of Longhorn that are just basically sitting there waiting to get on the train. And so as far as the trains will go, Chicago, New York, and those markets wouldn't stop there. They go all the way over to London, England. There was just beef being shipped all over after that point. So McCoy really opened those markets that otherwise wouldn't be.
It's so inspirational of a story of economic development and how we started that trek across America, making the Great Plains relevant to the economy of America.
Yeah.
That challenge still exists today. I think it's a great lesson for people saying, how do we grow Kansas?
Yeah.
We'll look to the past. We have Dwight David Eisenhower. We have the Chisholm Trail. We have really a heart of the Industrial Revolution with C.L. Brown starting here in this area.
Yeah.
All of those are huge success stories.
That's right.
For the Midwest.
Yeah. And we have a lot to thank for the Cowtown because there's a lot of people that would open up their newspapers and read these great stories of the wild and woolly West, and maybe they wanted to come and see it. Maybe it's the same guys today that go out and climb mountains and do crazy things like that. But there's something about going out and seeing Wild Bill getting into a shootout. And so people from New York would come far and wide to see what was going to happen in Abilene. We were worldwide known at that point. And to this day, we're still that way. People know the story of Abilene. People will come as far as Italy and Japan and Germany just to see what these streets had on them. And it's so great to be able to tell those stories.
We have the Eisenhower Presidential Library right to the north of us, where we're sitting in the Alamo Saloon today. About 186,000 visitors a year. It's always been for the Abilene area. How do we get some of those people to see and understand some of the other things we have to do? Well, here we are.
Yeah.
And first weekend of September, we're inviting Western Kansas today with the Forum Show sponsored by Hayes Med to come take a look and see what you have prepared for Kansas to celebrate.
Yeah, we're always so proud of our history, just as Hayes is of theirs. There's so many great pockets in Kansas that can tell the story very well, and we hope to do just as a great event as Fort Hayes did on theirs as well. So
I find it interesting that Mr. Shorman invited me to film this program with you today for his show, The Forum, in Hayes, and it's sponsored by Hayes Med.
Yeah.
Hayes Med is an anchor institution in what makes Kansas rural health care work.
Yeah.
It's that modern, large facility setting in the middle of a vast rural area where people feed into that for health care they can't get at home. Yeah. That's precisely what happened here with the Longhorns.
Yeah.
We had a resource called grass and a railroad. What a great segue between these similar visions, just separated by 150 years.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay.
We can learn a lot from history there.
All right.
For sure.
So tell us your website, tell us your phone number.
Yeah, so go to www.chisholmtrt.com. And TRT is Trails, Rails, and Tales.
Okay.
Chisholm's name is, there's 4 Chisholms, so it gets confusing. It's CHISHOLM, who is Jesse Chisholm. So chisholmtrt.com. You also see us on Facebook under Trails, Rails, and Tales. We can get you up-to-the-minute updates on that page as well. So.
There you go. On Facebook, all you have to do is type in Trails, Rails, and Tales, and
That's
they'll find you.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Thank you, Michael Hook.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you to Hayes Med for sponsoring the forum today. We know you enjoyed it, and we'd love to see you in Abilene first weekend in September. I'm Dennis Weiss for Michael Hook. Have a great day.
It's a beautiful day in our super high-speed internet great customer service neighborhood. Like you, this is where we live. In fact, our company is employee-owned, so it's our goal to improve the quality of life for everyone in our community by delivering faster, more reliable internet, clearer, more feature-laden phone service, quality TV channels, all with the level of customer service you'd expect from people who are your neighbors. Eagle Communications. Our community connected.